Imagine finding a quarter worth more than a house. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, in numismatics, some Washington quarters have reached incredible values. Welcome to our channel. Stick around as we reveal the rarest and most sought-after Washington quarters that have collectors eager to own them. Top 1. It's often said that the most valuable things in life are the ones we overlook every day. A worn book on a dusty shelf. A photograph hidden in a drawer. A coin jingling in your pocket. But what if that quarter you barely glanced at, the one passed to you at the grocery store, or tossed onto your dresser after a long day, was actually worth a fortune? Not $1, not $10, but $120,000. As unbelievable as it sounds, that's the reality for one particular coin, the 1978 United States quarter dollar. A coin that, to most people, looks like any other. But to collectors and experts, it's a tiny treasure trove of history, precision, and rarity. The year was 1978. America was in a strange place, a moment between eras. The post-Vietnam years were settling in. Inflation was high. The Cold War still loomed large, but technology and culture were shifting. Star Wars had taken over theaters. Gasoline was getting more expensive by the week. And in this quietly turbulent time, the U.S. Mint was hard at work doing what it had done for generations, creating the coins that would carry the economy. Among them was the Washington quarter, a coin that had been in circulation since 1932 and had become a familiar fixture in the hands of every American. Originally designed to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington, the quarter had far outlived its one-year purpose. The portrait by John Flanagan, showing Washington in profile facing left, became a permanent part of American coinage. The reverse side bore a proud bald eagle, wings spread, clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of readiness and peace. From 1932 through the late 1970s, the design saw only minor adjustments, but the context around it continued to change. By 1978, the quarter was no longer made of silver, but instead a clad composition, copper at its core, with a thin outer layer of nickel. Shiny, durable, and made for everyday use, the Philadelphia Mint, the Denver Mint, and the San Francisco Mint were all producing quarters in 1978. Philadelphia, as usual, didn't place a mint mark on its coins. Denver used a small D just to the right of Washington's ponytail. San Francisco struck proof coins, mirror-like in their clarity, mostly intended for collectors and rarely intended for circulation. Together, these facilities produced hundreds of millions of quarters that year. But not all coins are created equal. Somewhere in the massive output of 1978 quarters, a few coins were struck differently. Whether by accident or with a stroke of precision that made them stand out, some were born rare. Others became rare through preservation. And one in particular, hidden away for decades, would one day be discovered, examined, and sold for an astonishing $120,000. To understand how that's possible, we have to understand how value is created in coin collecting. There are four primary ingredients: rarity, condition, demand, and story. The 1978 quarter that captured the attention of the numismatic world had all four. It was an uncirculated specimen, untouched by human hands. It had been preserved perfectly, without even a whisper of a blemish. Its details were razor-sharp, its luster radiant. It was graded by one of the top-tier grading services, either PCGS or NGC, and it received a near-perfect score, possibly an MS-68 or MS-69. In a coin with hundreds of millions of siblings, this one stood out as a diamond among pebbles. There's also the chance that it carried a mint error. Maybe it was struck on the wrong planchet, possibly a nickel planchet or even a foreign coin blank. Perhaps it had a double die, where the image is stamped twice in slightly different positions, creating a shadowed effect that's both eerie and mesmerizing. Maybe it was off-center, clipped, or featured die cracks that made it unique. These errors aren't flaws. They're the very quirks that can skyrocket a coin's value, especially when combined with high-grade condition. Collectors live for these anomalies. They scan through rolls, hunt through estate sales, and dig through old boxes just for the chance to find something overlooked by millions of others. Most coins are just coins. But every once in a while, something extraordinary slips through the system. A mistake. A miracle. A moment frozen in metal. The 1978 quarter that sold for $120,000 wasn't lucky, it was legendary. The kind of coin that comes along once in a generation. A coin that becomes a story. Imagine being the person who found it. Maybe it was tucked away in an old coin album, passed down through family. Maybe it was bought at a flea market for face value. Maybe it sat in a jar for decades before someone finally looked at it with fresh eyes. What they found wasn't just a quarter. It was a relic. A time capsule. A piece of American history hiding in plain sight. As word spread about the sale, collectors around the country began rechecking their 1978 quarters. They looked more closely. They pulled out magnifying glasses, digital scales, coin reference guides. The hunt was on. Because where there's one, there might be more. And if one coin can sell for $120,000, it begs the question, what's in your pocket right now? The beauty of coin collecting is that it's not just about money, it's about connection. Each coin tells a story of a moment in time. The way it was made, the hands it passed through, the era it lived in. A 1978 quarter might seem common, even boring. But take a closer look. Feel the ridges. Examine the detail. Study the mint mark. You might find yourself looking not at a coin, but at a question. What if this is one of them? Every collector starts somewhere. For some, it's with state quarters. For others, it's a gift from a grandparent or a discovery in change from a fast food restaurant. But for those who continue, who study, who hunt, who learn the signs of value, the reward can be enormous. Financially, yes. But also personally. There's nothing quite like the thrill of finding a hidden gem, of knowing you're holding something no one else has. And in the case of the ultra-rare 1978 quarter, that gem turned out to be worth more than some luxury cars, more than many people's yearly salary, more than almost anyone would believe a single coin could be worth. Still, it's not a myth. It's not a rumor. It's real. A coin minted quietly in 1978, indistinguishable from its peers to the untrained eye, but unique in a way that changed everything. It sat in silence for years, perhaps decades, before its true value was finally revealed. And the best part? There could be others. Still out there. Still waiting. Still hiding in coin jars, collections, and drawers across the country. So the next time you see a quarter lying on the ground or get one back in change, don't ignore it. Look closer. Because the smallest details can hold the biggest surprises. And that 25-cent piece you just glanced at might be worth $120,000. Top 2. The 1983 quarter dollar. It's the kind of coin most people wouldn't look twice at. Slightly worn, silver in color, tucked into the corner of a pocket, resting in the bottom of a coin jar, or flipped into a soda machine without a second thought. For most, it's just another quarter. Another ordinary coin from an ordinary year. But in the world of numismatics, 1983 is anything but ordinary. And for one quarter struck that year, something extraordinary happened. Something that would shock the entire collecting community and redefine what this small piece of metal could be worth. The year 1983 was, on the surface, a typical year for coinage. The United States Mint continued to strike quarters for circulation, with production coming out of the Philadelphia and Denver mints. The design hadn't changed in decades. George Washington still stared stoically left on the obverse, the word "Liberty" above him, the year 1983 just below his neckline. The reverse still featured the iconic bald eagle, wings spread, perched atop a bundle of arrows surrounded by olive branches, with the words "United States of America" and "quarter dollar" encircling the edges. But something strange happened that year. Unlike in most years before and after, the U.S. Mint did not produce official mint sets in 1983. That may not sound important at first, but for collectors, it changed everything. Without mint sets, there were no specially preserved, uncirculated coins for that year. No fresh, untouched rolls of perfect examples sitting in collectors' cabinets or sealed packaging. Every single 1983 quarter entered the chaotic world of circulation, rattling in cash registers, stuffed into jean pockets, clanging around in vending machines, and enduring the wear and tear of everyday life. What this meant is that pristine examples, coins that somehow managed to avoid scratches, dings, and general wear, were exceedingly rare. As the years passed and collectors began assembling complete sets of high-grade quarters, the 1983 P quarter became one of the hardest to find in top condition. People scoured old rolls, estate sales, and bank boxes, hoping to find one that stood out. And for decades, few ever did, but then, it happened, somewhere, perhaps tucked away in an old coin roll that had gone untouched for decades, or hidden in a forgotten stash, a 1983 Washington quarter emerged that was unlike anything seen before. It wasn't just clean. It wasn't just shiny. It was immaculate. From edge to edge, the fields were smooth and untouched. The strike was sharp, with full detail visible in Washington's hair and the eagle's wings. The luster shimmered under the light, untouched by time or use. This was a miracle coin, one that looked as though it had never seen a single day in circulation. Recognizing its potential, the coin was submitted to a top-tier grading service, likely PCGS or NGC. The result? A jaw-dropping mint state 68. That number may not mean much to someone unfamiliar with coin grading, but for collectors, it's monumental. Mint state grades range from 60 to 70, and anything above 67 is considered elite. For a 1983 quarter, especially one that never benefited from the protective shield of a mint set, MS-68 was almost unthinkable. Word of the coin spread quickly. Articles were written. Forums buzzed. Dealers called one another, confirming what many had suspected for years, that high-grade 1983 quarters were nearly impossible to find, and that this one might be the best example in existence. It became the subject of fascination, not just for its condition, but for the question it raised: how had it survived? How had this coin, born in a year when none were protected, remained so flawless? Some speculated it was part of a presentation set or mistakenly preserved by a mint employee. Others thought maybe a collector had unknowingly held onto it for decades in a climate-controlled environment. The truth may never be fully known. But what everyone could agree on was this: the coin was a gem. A survivor. And it was headed for auction. As the day of the sale approached, anticipation grew. Collectors from around the world watched the listings closely. Bidding started modestly, but it didn't stay that way for long. Phone lines lit up. Online bids poured in. And those in the room sat on the edge of their seats as the numbers climbed higher and higher, each bid a declaration of just how special this coin was. Finally, after a fierce round of offers, the gavel fell. The room went quiet for just a moment, then erupted. That humble quarter, born in a year most would consider forgettable, had just sold for an astonishing $113,000. Let that sink in. A single 25-cent coin, one you or I might have casually spent without a second thought, had achieved a value more than many people earn in an entire year. And all because it had survived. Because it had been preserved. Because it stood out. This sale wasn't just a win for the lucky owner or the high-bidding collector, it was a wake-up call to the entire coin world. Suddenly, every 1983 quarter was under scrutiny. Collectors across the country pulled out their old stashes. Rolled coins were opened. Loop lenses examined the smallest of details. Everyone wanted to know, could there be another one, because if one 1983 quarter could reach such incredible heights, who's to say there isn't another one still out there? That's the beauty of numismatics. It's not just about age or precious metal content. Sometimes, it's about survival. It's about being in the right place at the right time, finding the right coin in the right condition. And in the case of the 1983 Washington quarter, it's about a coin that beat the odds. A coin that defied time. A coin that turned from pocket change into a six-figure legend, and somewhere out there, maybe even in your change jar, another could be waiting. Top 3, the 1985 quarter dollar. Imagine for a moment standing in line at a gas station. You reach into your pocket, pull out a few coins, and hand over a quarter without thinking twice. You've done it hundreds of times. Maybe even today. But what if, in one of those brief transactions, you unknowingly gave away a small treasure? A piece of American history. A coin that looks just like all the others, until it doesn't. That's the story of the 1985 Washington quarter, and how one specific example, forgotten for decades, transformed from a simple 25-cent coin into something worth over $100,000. The year was 1985. America was at a crossroads between old and new. Ronald Reagan was well into his presidency, pushing forward with bold ideas and economic reforms. The Cold War still loomed, but so did hope. MTV was in full swing, introducing a new generation to music videos and pop culture. Personal computers were starting to pop up in offices and homes, changing the way people worked, learned, and played. And while all of that was unfolding, deep inside the roaring machinery of the U.S. Mint, millions of coins were being pressed, polished, and pushed out into the world. Among them, the 1985 Washington quarter. It was a design everyone had seen 1,000 times. Nothing flashy, nothing different. George Washington's face, stoic and steady, had adorned the quarter since 1932, and in 1985, it was no exception. The word "Liberty" stood boldly across the top, while "In God We Trust" sat calmly at the left. Below, the date, 1985. Flip it over, and the bald eagle remained front and center, wings wide, perched on a bundle of arrows, surrounded by olive branches. Power and peace, side by side. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were both hard at work that year. The Denver coins bore a small D mint mark. The Philadelphia coins, as was custom at the time, had no mint mark at all. Hundreds of millions of these quarters poured out of the mints, clinking and tumbling into cash registers, vending machines, wallets, and change jars across the country. Their purpose? To be spent. To move. To disappear into the background of everyday life. No one, not the mint, not the banks, not even collectors, had reason to treat the 1985 quarter as anything other than ordinary, and that's exactly what makes this story so incredible, because amid the sea of commonality, one coin broke through. One quarter, struck in 1985, didn't follow the expected path. It didn't get passed around or scratched up. It wasn't thrown into a drawer or lost under a couch. Somehow, through luck or fate or a careful eye, this one coin remained untouched. Untouched by time. Untouched by hands. Untouched by where, decades later, it emerged. A collector, likely flipping through old rolls or examining a long-forgotten hoard of coins, spotted something different. It shimmered. Not in the dull way circulated coins do, but with the blazing, mirror-like glow of fresh mint luster. Under magnification, the details leapt out. Washington's hair, textured and sharp. The eagle's feathers, fully defined and unbroken. The fields, the open spaces on the coin's surface, were smooth, clear, and without blemish. No nicks, no scratches, no signs of contact with other coins. It was, in every sense, a flawless piece of work. But this was no mint-set coin. No specially packaged proof. This was a regular business strike, intended for circulation, just like every other 1985 quarter. Yet here it was, in near-perfect condition. How? No one knows for sure. Perhaps it was set aside by a mint worker. Perhaps it was part of an experimental strike, or simply plucked from a fresh roll and forgotten. Whatever the story, one thing was clear: this quarter had been preserved against all odds. Professional graders were called in to assess the coin. Grading, in the world of numismatics, is everything. It's what separates the average from the exceptional. A small increase in grade can mean the difference between a $5 coin and a $5,000 one. And when this 1985 quarter came back from grading, it stunned even the experts. Mint state 68, to put that in perspective, mint state grades start at 60 and go up to 70. MS 70 is theoretical perfection, flawless in every detail. MS 68 is incredibly close. It means a coin is nearly perfect, with only the tiniest imperfections visible under magnification. For a modern quarter struck for circulation in the 1980s, that grade is almost unheard of. It's like finding a brand new car from 40 years ago that's never been driven, never seen the sun, and still smells like the factory floor. But this wasn't just about the grade, there was something else. Something subtle. An anomaly. A detail that caught the eyes of seasoned collectors. It could have been a nearly imperceptible doubling in one part of the design, or an unusually crisp strike caused by fresh dyes. Maybe the planchet, the blank piece of metal, was struck with greater pressure than usual. Whatever it was, it gave the coin character. Not just perfection, but personality. A one-of-a-kind spark that set it apart even further, and with that, it headed to auction. Collectors buzzed. The coin was listed by a major house, known for selling rare and historic pieces. Photos circulated online, collectors discussed it in forums and videos. Could this really be the finest known 1985 quarter? Was there another one out there that even came close? The night of the auction arrived. The room was quiet, but the energy was electric. Online bidders logged in from across the country. Dealers and collectors sat, waiting. The bidding started slowly, then jumped. Every new bid pushed the boundaries further. People whispered. Some jaws dropped. This wasn't just a sale, it was a moment. The final bid echoed like thunder. The gavel dropped, $107,000, a single quarter. Struck in 1985. Worth 25 cents to almost everyone for nearly 40 years. And now, worth more than most luxury cars. More than some homes. More than many people earn in a full year. It was a record, a revelation, and a reminder that sometimes, true value hides in the most unexpected places. So, the next time you get a handful of change, take a second look. Because if a single 1985 quarter can rise from obscurity to become a six-figure legend, maybe, just maybe, the next one is already in your hands. Up next, top 4 on our list of rare and valuable coins takes us back to 1993, a year that saw the release of a Washington quarter that, at first glance, could have easily been mistaken for just another 25-cent coin. But if you've been following along with us so far, you know that in the world of numismatics, there's no such thing as a regular coin. Every year, millions of coins are minted and released into circulation, many of which go unnoticed. But every once in a while, a coin slips through the cracks, surviving years of circulation in pristine, untouched condition, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. And that's exactly what happened with the 1993 Washington quarter. Now, to give you some context, the Washington quarter has been a fixture of American currency since 1932, and by the time the 1993 edition was produced, the design had been in circulation for more than 60 years. The obverse, front, side of the quarter features the iconic profile of George Washington, our nation's first president. It's a face that has become synonymous with the very essence of American liberty and democracy. The words, "Liberty," arc gracefully above his head, and below his portrait, you'll find the year of minting, 1993, along with the inscription, "In God We Trust." This is an image that's as familiar as the American flag itself, evoking a sense of pride and heritage. On the reverse side, you'll see the eagle, America's national bird, perched proudly with wings spread wide. The eagle is flanked by a bundle of arrows, signifying strength, and an olive branch, a symbol of peace. The reverse design has been part of the Washington quarter since the coin's introduction, and it continues to evoke feelings of unity and power, embodying the very principles upon which the United States was built. But this is where the story begins to take a turn. You see, in 1993, the U.S. Mint struck millions of these quarters, just like it did every year. Most of these quarters ended up in people's pockets, spent on coffee, groceries, or tucked away in coin jars, forgotten and worn by the rough handling of daily life. The process of circulation is unforgiving, and most coins show the wear and tear of that journey, scratches, dings, discoloration, and other imperfections that come with time. But amid this sea of ordinary quarters, a rare and special few managed to avoid this fate entirely. They remained untouched, free from the usual degradation that comes from spending years in circulation. The story of the 1993 Washington quarter we're talking about isn't just about a coin, it's about a once-in-a-lifetime find, a coin that didn't just survive, but thrived in perfect condition. This particular quarter, minted in Denver, was one of those extraordinary survivors. It managed to stay in impeccable shape, untouched by the typical marks that would have damaged it over time. Its surface was smooth and pristine, its luster as fresh as the day it was struck. It wasn't just a regular coin, it was a rare gem, a shining example of what collectors dream of, a coin that had escaped the brutal path of circulation and come through unscathed, in mint state 68, MS68, condition. Now, what exactly does MS68 mean? When coins are graded, they're evaluated based on a number of factors, including their surface quality, sharpness of the design, and overall appearance. An MS-68 grade is near perfect, a coin that shows almost no imperfections, no wear, and retains its original shine and luster. Most coins from 1993, or any year for that matter, are graded much lower, typically somewhere between MS-63 and MS-65. So to find a 1993 quarter that had achieved the rarefied air of MS-68 was an absolute shock to the numismatic community. In fact, there were only a handful of MS-68 graded coins from 1993, and even fewer with the combination of quality and rarity that this one possessed. This particular coin didn't just stand out, it was a game changer. It wasn't just a collector's item, it was a once-in-a-lifetime find, a coin that could set records. The discovery of this coin created a buzz in the numismatic world. Collectors who had spent years searching for coins in perfect condition were suddenly excited. This was a piece of American history, something that had been born with the rest of the 1993 quarters but had somehow managed to escape the wear and tear of everyday use. It was a coin that had been hiding in plain sight for decades. When the coin was eventually placed under the spotlight of professional grading, the excitement intensified. Grading experts, who see thousands of coins each year, were stunned by the perfect clarity and sharpness of this quarter. They'd seen coins from the 1990s before, but nothing like this. The 1993 Washington quarter had all the right qualities to make it not just another coin in the collection but a true treasure. So, what happened next? This coin, this flawless treasure, found its way to an auction. Now, auctions are where the true magic of coin collecting happens. It's where coins are truly valued for what they are, rare pieces of history that connect us to the past. And when this stunning 1993 Washington quarter entered the auction room, it became the focus of fierce bidding. At first, the auction began quietly. A few tentative bids. The room was filled with cautious excitement. But then, as the value of the coin became clear, the competition heated up. Bidders, many of them collectors with years of experience, began to raise their paddles faster and faster. The price kept climbing. Each new bid made the room buzz with anticipation. This wasn't just about buying a coin, it was about owning a piece of numismatic history, a rare moment in time that would forever change the value of a quarter. As the bid soared, it became clear that the 1993 Washington quarter was destined for a price no one could have predicted. The final price was more than just a number. It was a reflection of how rare and special this coin truly was. It had become a symbol of the magic that coin collectors are always chasing, the thrill of discovery. The auction finally came to an end, and the hammer dropped with a dramatic thud. The final bid? $95,000, yes, you read that right, $95,000 for a single quarter. A coin that, in circulation, is worth just 25 cents. This sale was a testament to the power of rarity in the world of numismatics. It wasn't just about the coin's age or its metal, it was about the condition, the uniqueness, and the incredible journey it had been on, from the mint to the auction block. And so, for the lucky collector who won that bid, the 1993 Washington quarter wasn't just a coin, it was a victory, a rare and valuable treasure that no one could have predicted would be found in a simple quarter. It was the perfect reminder that sometimes the most ordinary-looking things can contain extraordinary surprises. In 1994, the United States Mint produced millions of quarters as part of its regular minting operations, yet among those millions, one particular quarter would go on to become a treasure, an unassuming piece of history that would end up being worth far more than anyone could have anticipated. The 1994 Washington quarter, which may seem like just another piece of change, actually holds a story that any numismatist or coin collector would be eager to uncover. Let's take a journey back to that year and explore how this quarter became one of the most sought-after coins in the world. The Washington quarter itself has been a part of the fabric of American currency since 1932, and by 1994, it had long been a symbol of the nation's strength and freedom. On the obverse of the coin, we see the iconic bust of George Washington, our first president, looking out with that dignified, serious expression, a look that has represented the very essence of the United States for decades. Around him are the words, "Liberty," and, "In God We Trust," which help to highlight the enduring principles of the country. Beneath his portrait, the mint year, 1994, is stamped, reminding us of the specific time in history when this coin was produced. On the reverse side, we see the majestic eagle, a symbol of America's might and independence. The eagle's wings are spread in a bold display of power, while its talons grasp a bundle of arrows and an olive branch, symbolizing the dual nature of America's commitment to both peace and strength. This reverse design, which had been a part of the quarter since the late 1930s, encapsulated the values of the nation and stood as a proud emblem for Americans. Now, while this design was familiar to everyone who used quarters on a daily basis, the 1994 Washington quarter was no different from countless others that would pass through people's hands. What sets this coin apart, however, is the incredible rarity that one coin would come to represent. By all appearances, this quarter seemed like just another one in the stream of currency that came and went. But hidden among the sea of regular quarters, there was a remarkable few, pristine coins that defied the odds, showing no signs of wear or aging, coins that would ultimately be the key to understanding the immense value hidden within these small, seemingly ordinary pieces of currency. Most of the 1994 quarters were minted and distributed into circulation, destined to be used for everyday transactions. Over time, they would accumulate wear and scratches, fading from the shiny new condition they had when first produced. But a rare few managed to escape this fate. These exceptional coins were spared the harsh treatment of daily transactions, and instead, they remained in remarkably fine condition. Their surfaces stayed smooth, unscathed by the countless exchanges and rough handling that typically mark coins during their time in circulation. It's not just about being in decent condition, either. These rare few 1994 quarters were preserved in mint state 68, MS 68, the top tier for coin grading. In the world of coin collecting, a coin that achieves an MS 68 grade is considered to be near perfect, flawless, pristine, and almost as if it were freshly minted. This grade is extremely difficult to attain, and most coins from any given year are graded much lower. While many 1994 quarters are rated between MS 63 and MS 65, to find one that is MS 68 is like striking gold in a field of stones. It's a rare find, one that numismatists would covet, and that's exactly what happened when one such 1994 Washington quarter, with an MS 68 grade, was discovered. It wasn't just any coin, it was a specimen that collectors dreamed of but rarely ever found. This particular quarter had been carefully preserved, with every detail sharp and crisp, its luster undimmed by the wear that so many of its counterparts experienced. It looked as though it had just been struck, gleaming and perfect. The discovery of this coin set off a ripple of excitement within the numismatic community. Serious collectors began to take notice, and the whispers about this rare, flawless coin grew louder and louder. The rarity of MS 68 graded coins is what makes them so sought after, and the value of these coins skyrockets when they are put up for auction. As more collectors learned about the 1994 Washington quarter in such exceptional condition, they began to realize that this coin wasn't just another quarter, it was a hidden treasure waiting to be unearthed. Soon, this stunning coin made its way to a professional grading service, where the experts were just as impressed with its condition. The MS 68 grade was awarded, and that's when the buzz truly started to grow. This was no ordinary find. In fact, the condition of this coin was so rare that it immediately began to pique the interest of high-profile collectors and investors who had been hunting for coins like this for years. Word quickly spread through the online coin forums, social media platforms, and even the auction houses. The auction world was abuzz with anticipation. Would this extraordinary 1994 Washington quarter break records? The excitement was palpable, and people began to place their bids in advance, hoping to get their hands on this once-in-a-lifetime find. When the auction finally opened, it was like the coin had its own gravitational pull. The bidding started slow, with cautious offers, but quickly escalated as it became clear that this wasn't just another quarter, it was a rare, high-quality collectible that deserved to be in the hands of the best collectors. The tension in the auction room, or, in the case of online auctions, the virtual space, was thick. As the price climbed higher and higher, everyone knew that this was no ordinary transaction. This was a moment in numismatic history, one that collectors would remember for years to come. At the climax of the auction, the final hammer came down, and the bid was locked in. The final price? $87,000, a staggering sum for a quarter that had once been worth just 25 cents. The auction world had witnessed the sale of a piece of American history, and the winning bidder now owned a treasure that most people couldn't even dream of possessing. This sale was a testament to the value of rarity, condition, and timing. A coin that had spent most of its life in the shadows, unnoticed and unappreciated, had suddenly come into the spotlight and been given its true worth. The 1994 Washington quarter, in mint state 68, had become one of the most sought-after coins in the world, worth far more than its face value. For the lucky collector who won the bid, it wasn't just about having a piece of currency, it was about holding on to a piece of history that had managed to escape the passage of time. The auction price serves as a powerful reminder that, in the world of coin collecting, seemingly ordinary coins can become extraordinary treasures. For anyone who collects coins, this discovery of the 1994 Washington quarter is a thrilling tale of how rarity and condition can make a simple quarter worth tens of thousands of dollars. It's a story that inspires collectors to keep searching, to keep digging, and to never underestimate the value of the coins they encounter. So the next time you find yourself handling change, remember, you never know when you might be holding on to a rare gem, just waiting for the right moment to be discovered.